Stretch.
I think there we are. You want to say hi to everybody?
Hi, everybody. I have no idea what's happening right now. This woman just kept saying, "You got to do this thing for us. Help us out." So I was like, "No, no, no." And finally, they got me here.
We're glad you did. I'm Chet Holloway with Poker News. Eric Danis, GPI. We're going to chat a little bit with Daniel Negreanu before he heads back to the 10K horse. Why don't we start there? How did it go last night?
I had the worst table in the room. Doug Polk was there, and then it was one of the best tables in the room because he's new to the games. And I think it's beautiful that guys like that give it a shot. You know, but he's new, so he's got a lot of room to grow. But after he busted, literally every single player was favored in the field. So my goal was just to get through the day, not do anything too fancy, and I did. I get there with pretty much an average stack. And my fantasy team literally lined up in order. On my right, you know, Brock Parker, Bryn Kennedy, David Baker. Boom. Murderer's Row.
Does that change the way you play?
No. But when they're in a pot, I'm kind of rooting for a chop every time.
I see that before the start of play. Every day you're setting goals and you're tweeting those out to everybody. What's the thinking behind that?
Well, you said goals, and I get what you mean by that, but what I do is actually, it's not what I'm doing. I'm setting my intention.
Okay.
So what is my intention for the day? Like when you woke up today, what was your intention for the day? Did you have one? Were you clear on what you wanted to accomplish in the day, right? For me, I wake up, and what do I want to accomplish? I'm in this tournament, so I wanted to get through with, you know, and I thought about it. I said by the end of the day, I'd like to have 20 big bets. So that's 400,000. So my intention by the end of the day is to have 4,000 in chips. That's my intention. Putting it out there, speaking it out there. This is science, I swear, but there's actually value in that, and being clear with your intention. I'm a big believer in having clear intention.
Well, it seems to be working. You've already had some good scores here this summer. Came close to your bracelet and winning that bet that you and Phil Ivey have out there. You know, what was it like playing against Paul Bolt in the heads-up portion there?
Well, he's tough because, first of all, he had a 2-to-1 chip lead, and he bluffs a lot and value bets a lot. So that really makes it very difficult to fold hands on the end against him. Because, you know, if you make a 10 or a jack against him, he's value betting queens in that game. So it was really tough. I caught him bluffing twice, and I probably paid him off about 4 times with a light hand. And the other ones I just had to call. So it was tough. I never really had good situations, but I was never in a situation where I was like, oh, I got the chip lead. I was kind of like, I felt like the Dewey Tomko old school guy who's just hanging in there, and waiting for his chance.
We have actually, to follow up that, we have Glenn on Twitter asking if he felt more pressure with the bracelet bets going on, more pressure heads up, more pressure than usual. Did you feel
absolutely not? Oh. Like zero. If you could do 0.00000%, yeah, it had no. Like, listen, the money that I bet on this is not going to change my life one way or the other. I made the exact same bet last year. I've made bracelet bets before. I'm not even playing like a lot of events outside because you got such a great schedule this year with the championship series. I don't play any of this because there's always a 10K right around the corner.
You disappointed in that Ivy guy?
Ivy, the one that I'm carrying on my back a little bit. Like zero. If you could do 0.00000%, yeah, listen, the money that I bet on this is not going to change my life one way or the other. I made the exact same bet last year. I made bracelet bets before. I'm not even playing like a lot of events outside.
Well, I wonder if we maybe have this
championship series. I don't play any of this.
There we go. We had it. We had an open browser playing the show that we're doing on a little bit of a delay.
Okay.
Our mistake.
Stupid.
So, yeah, we just asked a question from a viewer. I want to ask another one. Might be jumping around here. We got a limited time with you. Nick Parisi asked, what's your favorite part about Las Vegas? Let's get outside the real. What's your favorite thing to do outside of poker?
Golf. I mean, the weather's usually good. It's pretty close to year-round. It gets really windy in the winter and you can't golf. But I live right near a golf course, and, you know, I don't know. I guess that's one of my passions.
But Drew on Twitter asking, will you ever write another poker book?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I will. I don't know what, though. It definitely won't be No Limit Hold'em. You know, I see what's happening now. A lot of the younger kids are starting to really like the mixed games. And I think it's important for poker's growth to understand that No Limit Hold'em is just one game of many, and it's actually not the most fun to play at all. Like, when I play the World Series of Poker, I dread the idea of it. When I see a horse spin, I'm like, oh, yeah, bring it. So much more fun, so much more interesting. It's all good.
Going back to the fantasy poker we talked a little bit about, you have the 25K league. A lot of people follow that. I think a lot of people follow you as kind of a fantasy poker expert. You do your research and stuff. But Antonio De Pasquale says you drafted Chris Bjorn, and it doesn't look like he's going to be coming here this summer.
Yeah.
Why draft him?
So here was the thing. That was actually the only mistake I made. He was not on my list of players to take. I wasn't even going to take him. I had like 20 other guys. but he went so cheap, right? It's like someone bid 3, and I was like 4. I didn't want him. I just didn't. Sometimes in a room, people start talking, and no one's paying attention, and they don't hear a name, and then the guy goes way too cheap. I didn't want him, but I thought he was going to go for 15, 20, so I said 4, and then no one bid. But it's not because people, knew that he wasn't coming, but I found out that he isn't coming. Having said that, I've got a 7-man team now, and I'm still in contention.
How about the hot, sexy biker on Twitter? That's Daniel.
Send pics.
Yes. In your opinion, the best Canadian poker player not named Daniel Negreanu is?
Timex, Mike McDonald.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's
Specifically, he's
Exactly.
a one-game wonder, though. So,
Yeah.
Poker player. When you say no-limit hold'em player, you say poker player. Player could be. I'm trying to think if anyone's better than Gavin. Gavin Smith.
The old
He plays
school
all the
Pat
games.
Bezin with the games?
Oh yeah. I don't know.
Way
Yeah.
back.
Tough one.
Sticking with the Canada theme, Trent Gary wants to know, how often do you get back to Canada these days?
Not too often. I'm going to be going back to Canada at the end of the World Series to do this NHL charity shootout that we do every year with the
Awesome.
guys. It's always fun.
Oh,
yeah. And I often stop on the way to Europe for a few days.
Do you giggle when you play next to Wendell Clark or something like that? Do you...
Giggle. Like, I rub my titty. No.
No, not that bad. But you know what I mean? You still get to play with heroes of yours.
I don't giggle, but it's fun. It's fun. It's fun to hear like what it was like playing back in the old days. 'Cause
Right.
hockey was different. They tell me some great stories that I couldn't share with you guys. But, as simple as people smoking
Right.
on the thing, and drinking beer.
Deal of fur.
Well, I mean, they said Scotty Bowman back then. He didn't want people to have water. He thought it did something. He had them. They were drinking beer, like real during games. Oh, joke.
You have a Fab on Facebook talking about your re-rise to number 4 in the GPI. Is number 1 next for Mr. Negreanu?
Well, I mean, that's my intention.
Right. How about to continue? I'm asking, how cool is Patrick Antonius? He wants to know.
So sick. Patrick is like good looking and like plays big and wins all the money and it's like so sick. Yeah,
Pretty good.
that's all I got.
David Houghton wants to know, do you provide coaching?
At pokervt.com. Ding!
See, we got it in there. What about Hammer Falls wants to talk about the you shared with Remco, the $170 million deal with Full Contact Poker. Actually, one of the really interesting parts of that is, would you have stayed in poker had you sealed the deal?
Yeah, I have money now. Like I got money. I don't need to play poker. I play poker because I enjoy it. I'm passionate about it. If I had $400 million, I'd still play poker. I may not be as good. I'd be like, I don't know. I've never been a drug addict. I've never done any drugs. But maybe if you get all that money and you start doing like cocaine and crack and like recreational crack though, and then play tennis in the summer. Like not like full years. That would be nuts. Just like
Not Toronto Mayor crack. I mean,
yeah, right. Yeah.
So Frederick Barnage wants to know, if you could change one thing about poker, either live or online, what would it be?
I would change right now. The one thing that's on my mind is just the broadcasts and the way that poker's heading down the wrong path, getting more technical, getting more about the game. The reason that ESPN did better than the WPT in the early days was because ESPN focused on the individuals, and World Poker Tour thought, you know what, the game is interesting enough. Not true. You need people to have a rooting interest. A grandmother back home who doesn't even know what's going on. They're like, oh, I like that cute guy in the hockey sweaters. That tall one's an asshole. They have to have some sort of rooting interest, and I think that's the way to go. Also, when you make it so complex on television, it's hard for the regular person to understand it now. When you say the cutoff, the hijack, what? Yeah. Before it used to be in the first minute they'd show you the rules of the game, and I think that we need to go back to that.
How about Corin on Facebook asking, how much money did you have in your bankroll when you first turned pro?
I think I had $60. No, I don't know, man. I had money and didn't have money. Like when I started, I had $2,000-$3,000. It was plenty. I was playing 10, 20 limit hold.
Right.
And I would drink at night with my friends, so we'd spend the money we made. It was beautiful.
You had fun.
Yeah, I did. Still do.
Well, yeah, what a shot. How much fun do you have? I mean, your interaction with the crowd is still amazing. You're making people happy. You're talking to them. Why is that so important to you? I know it's an easy question.
Because it's like part of being what I call a human being,
Right.
like in a normal person. I mean, I think that what happens a lot of times with people want to call them celebrities, they start to separate themselves from other people as though like they're more important, and people want something from them. So that if everyone keeps telling you how great you are, it can get to your head, right? So it's important to like realize that's just a bunch of crap, and that you know, everyone deserves a time of day. I mean, they get so much time. But if a guy starts rambling about a bad beach story,
then,
I'm out.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
I can't stand for that.
Your boss wants to know, if you had to live anywhere else aside from Las Vegas, where would you live?
Aside from Las Vegas, my first thought is San Diego.
Yeah.
Perfect city. I mean, the weather's always just perfect. You know, there's stuff. There's golf. There's pretty pretty women.
Does the rumor that, you know, California will be the next state to legalize online poker influence that at all?
Not really. No, I mean, I'm always going to have a place here in Vegas. I was thinking about getting a second place in San Diego just to chill in the winter. It's better for golf.
You know, Bracelet winner Chad lives in Wisconsin. Maybe that would be a selection of yours.
That wouldn't be there. No, that's probably not my top 15,000.
We need to turn you into a Green Bay Packer fan, I guess.
Just quickly, at Jason Mercer wants to know, what the hell were you wearing the other night?
What was I wearing? That was so fun. You want to hear something interesting about that? Men, 95% of men thought that was awful. 96% of women thought it was hot.
They're agreeing.
So there you go.
The women are agreeing.
Yeah, it was like,
there
oh my God,
Jason
they loved it. Yeah, so, okay. You know who actually, this is the funniest, Mike Matiso was giving me fashion advice, and I said, you can start giving me fashion advice when you put down the fanny pack, okay?
Oh, that's good.
So Gary Oldman wants to know, and I'm assuming Gary Oldman might be fake, famous actor, maybe.
Yeah.
He's a big fan.
But how are you feeling about the main event this year? I know it's all the way towards the end, and we're only a couple weeks into the series, but is that something you look forward to throughout the summer, or do you just focus at one tournament at a time?
It doesn't exist in my mind right now. You know, right now, all that's happening is the 10K horse and playing the mixed games. Before the main event, I'll take a few days. I'll watch all the Rocky movies, which I think is obviously important.
Yes.
I mean, how else do you prepare?
Right.
Other than hearing Rocky say, you know, it's not how hard you hit, it's how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. How does that not pump you up?
How did you feel about the latest Rocky? I guess it was a couple years ago.
That was from
that was the last one? You want to see him do it again, another one?
I don't know where you go with it now.
He did it with Robert De Niro.
Yeah, that's sort of like it.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
Have you, you know, you did that cameo in the Wolverine Origins movie years back.
Origins?
I think it was Wolverine Origins.
Origins?
Yeah.
Origins?
Origins.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's
Origins. I've never heard
the
of it.
American trying to tell us how to talk.
Origins.
It's crazy.
Isn't it Origins?
My bad, eh?
Very good.
No, but have you ever thought about doing cameos in other movies? Have opportunities presented themselves? Anything like that?
Yeah, every once in a while I got fun things to do. I actually like this one thing I did, a show called Mr. D in Canada. And I did an episode. It was like a sitcom. That was the most fun because I actually got to act. And we did a lot of ad-libbing and stuff like that.
I need to ask you about that. You were sort of the bad guy in that role. Were you afraid how your image would...
No, I got to see the script first, and I thought it was fun.
Okay.
Basically, I wasn't even a bad guy. I was broke. But at the end, they showed me, like, you know, he's winning millions. It was cool. I thought it was great.
Jerry D, Chad knows him as well. He's such a great guy. How funny is he on set?
Oh, he's a great guy. I like him a lot. I liked how they shoot their show because there's a script, but it's very loose. So they'll just go off, ad-lib, and then they'll just use the best parts, kind of like Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Right.
And I think that makes for much better, funnier TV.
I can't have you here without talking Toronto Maple Leafs for a second.
Oh, yeah.
Where do you think we're heading?
Where are we headed?
Other than hell, where are we headed?
I think they made a big mistake. Personally, I think they made a very big mistake by re-signing their coach. Because the team, there's not much movement you can make there. They're going to look about the same.
Yeah.
Problem is the style of play. There's a thing called the Jim Corsi rating.
Yes.
Right? And the Leafs are last.
Set records.
Yes, they set records. And you just can't win that way. You have to change the system in which they play. They're a fast young team. You got to let them fly.
Yeah. Like that. Flying V.
Yeah.
I have no idea about hockey. That's all
That's
your guys' thing.
skates.
Oh, I mean, yeah, okay.
You're from Wisconsin,
All right,
man.
all right.
It's a great hockey program in Wisconsin.
I've seen the Mighty Duck movies.
See?
Emilio Estevez.
Yes. See, you have
Well,
fans.
one last question, I suppose, because I know you got to get back to the 10K horse, and that's where we started. That's might as well be where we finished. Have you looked at your table draw today? Is that something you look at before you come in to play in big tournaments like this?
Yeah, normally what I do is I look at the table draw, but because this morning I was so pressured into coming here and doing this with you guys, I have no idea what's on my table. Having said that, for a horse, it's not going to matter too much. Because once I sit down, I'm going to have an idea of how people play, and you know, I'm not too sweaty. I'm not wetting. I mean, in a no limit, I think it would be more important to get a sense of what people have done. If I don't know them, like, who is this guy? But if I don't know him, he probably sucks in the 10K horse.
Well, yeah. Daniel, I'll say thank you on behalf of me and Poker News, Eric Danis and GPI, and all those watching on the Google Hangout. Thanks for taking the time, and good luck
Hangout. That's
in the
what's
10K.
up. That's right, chill. Google Hangout.
And thank you all for watching.
What's a Google Hangout?